Hi everyone, we're in a devotional in Nehemiah called Rebuilding and Revival, and I want to ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are in need of something beyond yourself? We have seen that Nehemiah faced both internal and external problems. He faced opposition, he faced a task that was overwhelming. It was something beyond what any one person could do. And yet Nehemiah gets the job done in such rapid time that even his enemies cannot deny that he had God's help. You know, anything worthwhile can only be done by God's grace and God's help. Anything worthwhile can only be done by God's grace and God's help. In Nehemiah 6:15 it says, "The wall was completed in 52 days." This was perceived by Judah's enemies as a miracle. A wall around a city built by human hands in such a short time was astonishing. If it was not a miracle, it would not have struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. They were not afraid only because the wall had been rebuilt. They were afraid because they recognized that divine intervention was involved for them to have accomplished such a feat in such a short time. The other nations saw this as a sign that they had God's favor. Nations trembled when they saw God do something for Israel. They knew that they would have to deal with more than just Judah's wall. They would have to deal with Judah's God. They witnessed God's strength and power, as well as his willingness to intervene and grant favor to his people. You know, although Nehemiah was a good leader, the wall was not completed so quickly just because of his leadership skills. It was by the power of God. Even Nehemiah's enemies recognized this. You know, anything worthwhile can only be done by God's grace and help. Anything good we accomplish is by God's grace. God always deserves the credit for the victory. Has anyone ever told you it cannot be done? The job is too big and the problems are too great? The real question is, does God want it to be done? For with God, all things are possible. You know, many greats in history have accomplished what others said could not be done. You see, the need for God and his help never ends. The need for God and his help never ends. The walls were completed and the gates were restored, but Nehemiah's overall work was not finished. Nehemiah had been persistent in rebuilding the wall and resisting the enemy, and now he had to be steadfast in preserving what was gained. People were appointed to stand watch. You know, walls without watchmen are a poor defense. And the number one qualification for leadership was character. Character was more important than ability, gifting, education, or experience. You know, integrity and the fear of God were the key traits that qualified a leader in this passage. If we truly fear the Lord, we will be faithful to do what he's called us to do. See, those who fear the Lord know that their help comes from the Lord. What good are gates if nobody is guarding them and controlling who enters and leaves the city? I had read that the Great Wall of China was penetrated by the enemy at least 4 times, and each time it was because the guards were bribed. Gates and walls are only as good as the people who guard them. Nehemiah carried it on to completion to ensure the job got done. The need for God and his help never ends. We are to watch. You know, anything worth doing can only be done by God's help. You know, Jesus even said, "Apart from me, you can do nothing." If we are doing what can be done without God's help, are we truly with Jesus? Are we abiding in Jesus if we can do it without him? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to Gethsemane? What do I mean by that? You know, that place where there is no one but God who can help you, when God is all you have. Oh, maybe there are other people, but they're not able to help. They don't have the answers. They're not able to stop the suffering or comfort the pain. A place where only God can help you, where God is your only true hope. He is the only one who is in a position to give you the help you need. Jesus was in that place. Jesus cried out, "Abba, Father, take this cup from me." Are you in a place where you're asking, "Father, take this cup from me"? So have you ever been to Gethsemane? Maybe you're there right now. If you haven't, you will someday. Are we truly looking for God, crying out to him as the only one who can truly come through for us? And if not, then why not do that today?